We'll be progressing into this event, and the next part of our event will be the keynote by Temi Babs, the founder of Speech AI. So, to usher Temi into the stage, we'll be welcoming Tega, a member of the GDG, to read the citation.
Thank you. Hi, guys. So, to welcome the next keynote speaker, I would say he's building in a space that I find really disruptive and really exciting. So, please, Temi Babs, can you please rise as I read your citation? Thank you. Temilola Babalola, also known as Temi Babs, is an engineer, entrepreneur, and founder of Speech, a startup building voice AI tools for African languages. With a background in computer science and a strong focus on product development, Temi works across speech recognition, translation, and speech synthesis technologies. He leads a multidisciplinary team developing platforms that enable developers and enterprises to build voice-driven applications. I think you all are pretty wild, same as me. Passionate about solving local problems with AI, Temi is also involved in initiatives to collect and model language data for underrepresented languages like Igbo and Yoruba. It is my warm welcome and a honor to present Temi Babs for the next stage of the keynote. Thank you so much. It's so nice to have you here, Temi Babs.
Thank you. He's a very good hype man. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'll just wait for the slides to come up. My name is Temi. I lead the team at Speech. We're a group of smart guys. I happen to be the dumbest on the team. And at the same time, I run the team. We are building voice technologies for Africa. We started by building speech to text and text to speech for major Nigerian languages, being Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba. And now we have for Nigerian accented English too. We're powering businesses like Crop to Cash and other large companies in Nigeria and East Africa. So I think I'm done with that part. I'll just wait for the slides to come up. Okay, I'll just go into it. Hopefully, I don't forget anything from the slides. I'm really inspired to be here. I graduated from University of Ibadan, which means that I haven't had the Covenant University experience, but it's my first time in CU. Everyone looks great. I was surprised to see guys wearing suits, even on Saturday. I'm like, that's very interesting to see. But one thing that I really like about the student community is how I'm an old man, by the way, so forgive me. One thing I like about the student community is how you guys are building and how you build fast, and that's something I want to talk about. We have a couple of interns and students on our team. And these guys are some of the fastest builders. And when we get to that part, I will describe and explain how speed, number one, is not a trade-off for quality, and how it's self-reinforcing and it helps you build momentum. So, topic is build, and the topic for this keynote is how to build. The first slide, if I remember, talks about problems. The major reason why you want to build or you want to start a company, you want to do something or build a solution is to solve a problem. And first, you have to understand that problems come in different shapes and forms. Previous slide. All right. A problem could be obvious, it could be obscure, could be novel or familiar, could be small, could be huge, could be tractable or intractable, could be critical or non-critical. Note the words in bold. That's our focus for this session. So we're talking about problems that are either obvious or obscure, familiar, could be small or huge, tractable, and non-critical. Now, this is where speed comes in. When you want to solve a problem, I think it's important, next slide, to have a problem-finding mindset. I'll just go straight into item number 3. Don't play the startup game. And this is coming from experience. The startup game is this. Oh, I want to be a founder. So you call 5 of your guys, what are we going to build? What problem are we going to solve? I think that's a wrong approach. I think I'll then go back to the first point, which is the best problems are usually serendipitous. You're just building something, you're working on something, and then you find another thing. For us, at Speech, it wasn't even speech before. It was an AI chatbot. It was a Telegram bot, and it was targeted at students. We had launched in Babcock, University of Ibadan, and Unilag. And we were building this feature that allowed you to record your lectures and get a summary right after, or almost in real time. But it wasn't working. And students were complaining. And we already decided, okay, this product is not going anywhere. And then, but that feature itself, we were leveraging another technology to build, to use the speech to text to solve that problem for students. And there were all sorts of issues like lecturers or professors code switching, speak English, then Yoruba, and go back to English. Sometimes there will be so much noise in the classrooms, you won't even be able to make sense of what the professor is saying. And so the next problem to solve emerged itself, and it was just obvious. First, at the time, there wasn't any tool out there that did text-to-speech or speech-to-text for local languages, or even Nigerian accented English. And so we started building, but we had to validate the problem first. Next slide. So there are different ways you could validate the problem. Talk to people, do customer surveys, collect, analyze data. But the best approach, which I have found to be useful, is to start with an assumption and take that assumption to the market and quickly find out whether your assumption is correct or not. There's no substitute for that, because you could do all the surveys, you could do all the analysis, and you could still be wrong, like the previous slide said. Okay, next slide. The question you want to ask yourself, the big question is, what is the cheapest, dirtiest, quickest way that I can validate this assumption? I'll give an example of Tesla. So Elon didn't just go, even though he had made a lot of money from PayPal, he didn't just go build Tesla like that. I think, if I remember the story correctly, what he did was they had a website and they had people pay money for a car that didn't exist yet. And he told them, you're going to get this car at some point in the future, but give me the money first. I want to be sure that this is something that you want. That's validation. If you can get people to commit 20%, 30% of the cost before you even start, that's validation. Validation could also look like It could be a survey too. It could be asking questions. It could be for B2B. It could be like an MOU. It could be anything. But it just has to answer the question, do people want this? Does it solve the problem for them? And are they going to pay for it? Next slide. Okay, so this is a cycle. And as David said, the journey is long. Think of this as something you're going to do forever if you are going to build. This is you taking a solution to market and getting feedback from the market. And by the way, your solution is not necessarily a product. It could be some insight. It could be customer education. It could be anything. But you're taking it to your intended audience, and that audience is giving you feedback. And that feedback, by the way, doesn't have to be they pay money. Sometimes it could be negative, they don't pay money. It could be they reject the product or the tool. It could be that they adopt it, but then they churn out. And there's so many ways that you can get feedback from the market. So building an engine, your company really is an engine that enables you to take a solution to the market and get feedback. That feedback is really important. If you're not getting feedback from your customers or the market, then you don't know how to innovate, you don't know how to refine. Next slide. All right. Sorry, previous slide. And finally, the speed with which you do this determines how much progress you make. Because if you take a solution to the market and the market gives you feedback and it takes you 6 months to fix the bug or to correct the error or to work on it or to iterate, the market has moved on. Your customers have found somebody else and they will churn out. So if you're not going through this loop as fast as possible and you're not creating an engine, which is your company, to do this as quickly as possible, sooner than later, it's not going to end well. So next slide. Okay, so here are the advantages of speed. People say a lot about building things slowly and steadily. Again, remember, the focus for this is problems that are tractable, problems for which not a lot of research has to be done, problems for which the building blocks are already in place. You don't have to do a lot of new, groundbreaking scientific or engineering work. Make it happen. That's the focus for this set of problems. So you learn quickly if you build quickly. You could delude yourself into thinking that you're taking your time and you're building something of high quality. And by the time you build it out, the market has moved on. The timing isn't right. But if you can find the smallest, quickest, dirtiest way to validate your assumptions, even if it doesn't necessarily mean taking the product in its 100% state, taking it to market, I think you will learn a lot more by doing that. You create valuable feedback loops. That means you're always getting customer feedback. Your customers would love you because you're always having something new to show them, even if it's one small, tiny feature that just makes their life better. And yeah, it's the only way to stay alive. Coming from someone who builds in the AI space, you could build a feature today, and by next week, OpenAI makes you irrelevant, or Google, or one of the other big guys. This happens a lot. And if you're if you're unable to delight your customers every time, the feedback loop just slows down and you lose momentum. The team loses excitement and it's downhill from there. So speed is the name of the game, or momentum. Next slide. Okay, so something, when I tell people to like build fast, something that comes up is, wait, are we building at the expense of quality? Are you saying we should trade off speed for quality? That's not what I'm saying. There's a small snippet of code there. If lives are at stake, please build for quality. If you're building in health tech, if you're building something that impacts the lives of people, take your time, build it out well. Else, go for speed and build fast, but don't break things. Speed improves quality, again, because of feedback. And if there's anything I want you guys to take home from this, it's that if you build quickly, you get feedback quickly, you iterate quickly. And if you can repeat that cycle as fast as possible, you will make mistakes, of course. If you're not, then you're not even learning. But if you double down on that cycle, it's only a matter of time before your company gets to a point of scale and succeeds. And yeah, like I said, quality means nothing if you're late. If you're trying to build the best product with the best user interface and spending 6 months to go to market, you may find out that the market has moved on and nobody needs your product anymore. And we don't want that. Speed as a strategy helps you to focus on delivering solution instead of short-term tactics. And here's what I mean by that. So let's say we decide to build, what's anyone building here? Just, what are you building? A study app. Okay, so you're building a study app. Is it targeted at any specific field, or is just studying anything? Academic studies. Okay, so for academic studies, if you decided to go and build from scratch, right? You say, okay, I want to build this tool that enables students to study and to take notes, come up with summaries for their lecture, on their lecture notes, help them prepare for exams. Okay, I'm going to build a chatbot, right? And then you go and build, and it takes you 6 weeks to build. Now that's 6 weeks of your time you've spent on that product. And if you could do that using a tool like Lovable or Copilot, right? Or OpenAI's Codex, and it would take you 3 days, I think it would be in your best interest to use those tools, especially in the early days when you're not sure of things, where things are moving fast, and you might discover that your tool, at least in its current state, needs to evolve quickly. So there is this thing about us, especially those of us who, I studied computer science, and I've been in this trap several times, where you want to build for the love of it, and that's really good, trust me. I like that. But now when you're taking money from investors and you have to get a product into the market, you want to build for the love of it, but at the same time, you can't let that love for your product or for your code trap you. Because if you don't get it out there, you would have spent a lot of time building that thing, and you'll find that nobody wants to use it. So what if you find out that nobody wants to use it in 3 days instead of 6 months, right? Which is why speed is like really important. And so tactic, usually strategic things are like the big stuff, bird's eye view of your company, of your product, of what you're building. The tactical things are, what programming language do we use? How do I structure my code? What ICD pipeline do I use? Those things, don't worry about them. Don't try to innovate on them. Those things are baked in already. What you want to figure out is strategic things. How do I solve this problem as quickly as possible? I'll keep repeating that probably until I have to leave the stage. So thank you. I hope you build, next slide, build something amazing and build it fast, please. The ecosystem needs it. You guys are doing amazing. Thank you.
Give a round of applause to our amazing speaker, Mr. Temi Babs. He says, I hope you build, and I hope your building was amazing. So let's get into the question and answer session now. So in 5 minutes, we're going, yes, the ground rule. I'm going to take questions from people who have not asked before, right? So if you've asked, let's give everyone an open ground. So I'll go with her first, then I'll go with him, and then I would go with him as my third person. So let's go.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bablana. So I'm very interested in the application of AI in African languages, because as your section said, it's under represented. So you mentioned Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, Nigerian, accented English, but I don't know. So I'm from Benue, I'm Tiv, right? And I feel like there are so many language translation or teaching apps now, right? But they always focus on those 3 or at most 5. Nigeria has a lot of languages, and a lot of them are kind of dying out because people are moving out of the village, their children are not around, because I can literally count on my hand the amount of people from my tribe in this whole school. So who am I practicing the language with? To get textbooks on that language, practically impossible, and that is how languages die out. So I was wondering, what is speech doing about minority languages? And secondly, on building fast, you mentioned using AI to speed up your work. What is like the concern in terms of intellectual property and security in doing that?
Thank you. So, first of all, I'd like to apologize for that. The ecosystem tends to focus on the world is economic, highly economic, and if money is not coming from somewhere, attention doesn't go there. That might be a major reason why Africa is left out of the equation when it comes to languages and AI, number one. And if we scale that down to Nigeria, that's definitely the major reason why many people reckon with the major, or what we say is the major, are the major 3 languages. So I sincerely apologize for that. I don't have a good answer to that, to be honest, because besides the economic factor, there's also the data factor. Training AI models requires a ton of data. And if there's no data, then we can't train. So it's almost a chicken and egg problem. Nigeria or Africa, sadly, is not set up such that data is accessible and represented digitally in such a way that it can be used. So what we're doing about that is we have data partners and we ourselves like go out and source for data. But it's, like I said, still the economic factor, which is, to be honest, undeniable. I sincerely apologize. That's not a good answer, not the answer you're looking for, but it's the truth. Second question. Intellectual property. Okay. Except you're building a rocket or you're building like health tech products. I personally wouldn't like worry about intellectual properties or property in the early days. Note I said in the early days. We're still trying to figure out whether people want to use this product or whether this is something the market wants. We shouldn't be worrying about OpenAI taking my code what's my code going to do to OpenAI or GitHub? I mean, yeah, I'm not saying don't be careful. Please be careful. But except you're building like deep tech, high tech stuff, don't worry too much about that.
Right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for the opportunity to ask my question. My name is Alex, and I'm in the Department of Economics. So, you spoke a lot about speed, right? And one of the things that hinders speed actually is fear. So, how do you, as in starting tech and other startups, doing other things, how do you overcome that fear of, will my investment of 3 years in this startup be worth it after 3 years? Will my investment of 5 years be worth it? How do you overcome that fear so that you can begin to speed up your work or whatever thing you're building?
So this doesn't apply everywhere. Obviously, if you're building like hardware, or if you're building if you're building properties, for example, as an investment, don't take this advice. But if you're building software, instead of saying how would I invest, like investing the next 3 years in this thing, if it's software, just ask yourself, how can I crunch this down into 6 weeks instead of 3 years? Like, what's the quickest way for me to like prototype this thing in 6 weeks? And then if it works out, you decide whether you want to go 3 years. I think there's less fear involved in a project that would take 6 weeks than a project that would take 3 years. So speed is like, it's almost like magic. Trust me. Like, if you can take 4 years of work and like crunch it down into like three weeks or like a short time frame, fear almost disappears. Yeah. And you get boldness from taking stuff to the market immediately. The longer you wait, the more fear, the bigger the fear.